This is KTN's premier international talk show. I'm Joy Doreen Bira. Greetings and welcome to Diaspora Voice. On tonight's show, we delve into issues affecting Kenyans both at home and abroad. And coming up on the show, it's goodbye Mwai Kibaki and welcome Uhuru Kenyatta as Kenya witnesses change of guard. Also, the diaspora responds to the change of guard as Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency is ushered in, and the involvement of the Kenyan community in immigration reforms.
Asante sana. Anakabidhiwa.
Duly sworn in as the country's fourth president, Uhuru Kenyatta delivered probably his longest statement, lasting nearly half an hour. The statement themed on economic growth, peace and reconciliation. Uhuru underlined the roadmap ahead for the Jubilee government, restating their commitment on delivering on their campaign pledges.
Within the first 100 days of my administration, we will ensure that maternity fees are abolished and that all citizens of Kenya are able to access government dispensaries and health centers free of charge.
The country's fourth and youngest president pledged to serve all Kenyans equally, regardless of their political doctrines. Uhuru says, with the elections behind, the Jubilee government will embark on uniting the country.
The time has come to ask not what political party we belong to, but rather what partnerships we can build. The time has come to ask not who we voted for, but what future we are all devoted to.
Shortly, there will be no difference. You will not distinguish those who voted for Jubilee from those who voted for CORD, because Kenyans have a way of doing their thing.
In a diplomatic approach, the country's president under the ICC radar, alongside his deputy, reasserted his commitment to working with the international community, but equally warned the Western powers against decisions undermining the country's sovereignty.
We must remember that no country or group of countries should have control or monopoly on international institutions or the interpretation of international treaties.
Many of you did not believe that we would win this election because it was said choices have consequences, and that if you vote for Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, there would be consequences. Look at what happened. The people of Kenya did not just vote and make us win. They did it in round one.
After firing the salvo at foreign powers, Uhuru went ahead to invite other international countries interested in developing mutual relationship with Kenya, a signal of warming up to emerging powers.
To all developing and developed nations who desire a deeper and more mutually beneficial relationship with Kenya, we are ready for partnership, we are open for business, and we invite you to invest in our country.
In what can be deduced as a summary presentation of their manifesto, Uhuru pledged to empower mainly the youth and women who have been disenfranchised in the past. He says the 6 billion shillings that had been allocated for a rerun of the election will be diverted to the Women and Youth Empowerment Funds. On the same breath, a department will be set up in the office of the president to cater for the women and the youth.
This work begins now. We welcome all Kenyans to hold us to account.
Equally, Uhuru and Ruto restarted their delivery of free laptops to every standard 1 going kid in public schools.
We made a promise to our children, and we will keep it, because we believe that early exposure to technology will inspire future innovation and be a catalyst for growth and prosperity.
They pledged to promote trade ties between Kenya and the rest of East Africa region and Africa as a whole. Uhuru has equally sounded a warning shot at the international community, saying that it does not hold the trump card or monopoly of interpreting international treaties a veiled reference on the ICC question. Samogina KTN, Kasarani.
On the Diaspora Voice show, the team values your views each week and we sample some of them, reactions to various world topical issues from Facebook to Twitter as well as video opinion. Here are some of your responses to the inauguration that took place at Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani.
Kenyans living in the US joined their fellow Kenyans back at home in congratulating President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta and his Vice President William Ruto following the Supreme Court's ruling that they were validly elected.
My name is George Mechia. I'm very excited to hear about the judgment and the ruling of the Supreme Court in Kenya, having decided that Uhuru is the current president of our nation. This is a nation that we love, and we really very much appreciate what has taken place in terms of peaceful elections.
I'd like to first congratulate Uhuru on his election. Today I stand proud to be Kenyan because of what they have shown. The judiciary for the first time in the Kenyan history is working.
The Kenyan Diaspora meeting in Delaware for an immigration seminar was unanimous that the electoral process and the peaceful adjudication of disputes in the Kenyan legal systems are a clear indication that Kenya has made progress in strengthening its democratic institutions.
As for me, the message is congratulations to President Uhuru and congratulations to the Kenyans for running a very successful election. What we have just realized is a testament to what can happen to a nation when we build strong institutions.
Echo what the other panelists have said, congratulations to President Uhuru for being elected as the fourth president of Kenya. And more importantly, congratulations to the people of Kenya for holding a peaceful election. It is a joy to know that no blood was shed and people are united, people are continuing with their lives, their businesses, their education, etc.
The Diaspora praised Prime Minister Raila Odinga for conceding defeat, saying in so doing, he had depicted high-level statesmanship and assured him that his contribution to the democratic process in the country will remain unmatched.
I take this chance to thank His Excellency, the Prime Minister Raila, for what he has been doing almost virtually the rest of his life, championing for justice, championing for the rights of the common mwananchi.
Essentially, we had a peaceful election with maybe 50% of the vote going one way, 50% going the other way. So it would have been a polarized election regardless who won. The challenge for us as Kenyans right now, the challenge for Uhuru, the challenge for Raila is to get everybody to get back on together, because the development that we need to achieve in Kenya it can only occur if we get together.
See, it's the message of peace. Because without peace in Kenya, we cannot be able to survive. And without peace, our economy will not be able to go on. So what we need to do is pack shop and let's move to build a better tomorrow. In another 4 years, we're going to have the elections, and let's keep peace.
Time for us to take a breather, but still to come, Chris Wamalwa explores the implications of immigration reforms on Kenyans living in the United States. Do stay with us.
Maybe it was a flesh wound, maybe the leg or the arm. My heart has been broken from that day.
His death impacted me. It made me realize that I needed to live for something bigger.
The police said they were on the trail of the killers. So for me, it looked like there was a breakthrough.
I wanted to kill the mother.
This is Case Files. Wametajwa kama wahalifu sugu katika historia ya Kenya. wahalifu, makachinja waliotajwa kutokuwa na huruma na waliowapa polisi kazi ya ziada.
Kawaambia badala ya kusumbua watu wakiwa hai, wacha tuwapeage time mpaka wafariki.
Polisi waliwataja kama mabingwa wa ubakaji, wizi wa mabavu, kuua na wizi wa benki. Kwa polisi walioangamiza kina Rasta, Washosho, Wanogo, Madheri na Cheroyota, walionekana kama wakombozi. Je, ni mbinu gani polisi walitumia kuwawinda wahalifu sugu? Hii ni hadithi ya uhalifu sugu, uhalifu ulioyakinisha kwamba anayeishi kwa bunduki hufariki kwa mtutu wa bunduki.
Wakapiga risasi ngapi? 5 kutoka hapa mpaka huko.
Ungana nami mwanahabari wako mpekuzi Mohamed Ali
12
ndani ya machimbo ya wahalifu sugu katika kitimutimu hiki.
The melting pot of the world's cultures, that's the name the United States has come to be known for over the years, for the sole reason that the country receives immigrants from across the world. Kenya being one of those. So we posed the question, how have Kenyans living in the United States contributed to immigration reforms? Our correspondent in the US, Chris Wamalwa, sought answers from Kenyan nationals. Chris.
Thank you, KTN Studios in Nairobi. Welcome to the Diaspora Voice. In this show today, we're going to focus on immigration issues. The U.S. currently is involved in a process that is aimed at dealing finally with immigration issues. There are different efforts going on, different processes, and for us, we focus on the involvement of the Kenyan community in the U.S. in the process of developing a policy paper that will go into the comprehensive immigration policy that is likely to pass before the end of the year. Welcome. After many years of uncertainty, comprehensive immigration debate has once again taken center stage as the focus stands on the outcome of a negotiated bill facilitated by the bipartisan group of 8 senators.
My name is Ateno Dor and I'm an independent governance consultant. Right now in the US there's really great momentum for immigration reform as many people are much aware, I hope. We have a gang of 8 which is made up of 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats that are trying to put together a comprehensive bill on immigration which should be coming out sometime next week. Or the week after that. So right now I think they've kind of finalized or they're finalizing on the bill, and then we're just waiting for them to release it. But there is great momentum. I think the Republican Party, which has always been more averse to immigration reform, not wanting amnesty. I think after they lost really heavily they suffered heavy losses from the minority groups such as the Latino. Now they really want to get the support of the Latinos by working on the immigration reform bill.
The coming weeks will therefore be crucial as an estimated 11 million illegal immigrants in the U.S. will find out whether they can continue to live and work in the U.S. and whether eventually they will be granted citizenship. The overhaul of U.S. immigration laws will also affect if and how people will be able to come to the U.S. in future, either as tourists, visitors, or even just to do business.
It's now or never, because after the elections that passed in 2012, the Republicans realized that the immigrant community is voting against them because they are not for immigration. And the Democrats realized that the immigrant community is the one, because President Obama was elected on a coalition of LGBT community, immigrants, or minorities, and therefore the Democrats would like to keep that coalition and the Republicans would like to get some of it on their side. So for that, particularly in this particular time, it's a meeting of situations which are very good for immigration reform. And my point is, although the Latinos were very organized and visible, although the Asian Americans were very organized and visible, African or recent African immigrant Americans were not visible. They may have contributed money, but individually. So they were not organized. So the numbers were not visible. Their numbers were not seen. But in this country, in a democracy, you need to have the numbers, you need to be seen to have the numbers, and you need to get involved.
It may not be apparent now, but this bill will have far-reaching effects on people in and outside the US. Though there are more than 3 million immigrants of African descent living in America, the immigration reforms debate rarely includes the unique experiences and challenges facing black immigrants.
I think the problem why the immigration debate is focused mostly on Latino, I think on one part is to do with numbers. So you have more Latinos, many Latinos who are undocumented immigrants. But then to do with the Africans is maybe because of our low numbers. But African immigrants from the African continent and also from the Caribbean, they make about 10% of the immigrant. And I think part of the reason why we are not on mainstream media is because we haven't been coming out. So I'd say I really blame the African immigrants for not coming out and advocating for themselves, stating what the kind of issues they face with regards to immigration. And this is in part due to fear. People don't, I think also if you look at African immigrants, most of them have come from backgrounds where the governments have been authoritarian, so they don't really know how to, I would argue, how to relate with the government. So that is part of the problem. The other part is really lack of information and really government centers here in America to reach out to Africans so that they know, this is how the American government works. You have your rights, A, B, C, D. So I think part of also integration into the American, I think more so to do with civic education, I think.
Aware of this historical nature and importance of this process, a Kenyan-born naturalized US citizen, Atieno Odor, is running against time to make sure that the issues that are dear to Africans in general and Kenyans in particular are included in the bill. Even though the African immigrant community in the US is by far the most educated group, both foreign-born or otherwise, and even though it contributes significantly to the development of the country, it does not feature anywhere when immigration issues are discussed.
Although many Africans are very highly educated, but then when it comes to just dealing with the government, having your issues heard, people don't really have that information. So that's why we see that happening. But it's mostly driven with fear. And even the experiences of African here, when you talk with them, they've also faced this discrimination within government agencies. And if you look at the government premises and programs, you don't see a lot of African faces. So people kind of tend like, I don't see somebody who's similar to me. So you kind of shy away from that. So there are many issues, fear, discrimination, and lack of information on how to lobby.
The recent African immigrants need to come out of the shadows and be seen, because although all immigrants may have the same, almost similar issues, but there are specific issues that are only specific to African immigrants that need to be out there so that the policymakers can see and make sure that whatever law is passed takes care of those particular specific, peculiar African immigrant concerns.
So why are we here today? As many of you know, right now this is the season of immigration reform. We have the Gang of Eight that is working on immigration policy. The last time America had any comprehensive reform for immigration was in late 1980 something. So it's late? 86, thank you very much. So in 86, so this is another opportunity that we have. So we've been working with Congress, trying to see what is it that people want in this immigration policy. I know most of us are aware that so many people from the Kenyan community, so many people from the African community, they have distinct immigration issues. But this is really the time for us to be heard, for communities to be heard. It's also the opportunity to enable people to come out of shadows. But the problem that we have in Capitol Hill We are not hearing a lot of black voices. We're not hearing a lot of African voices. And in terms of policy, nothing happens organically. It has to be forced. So when you're not communicating what our issues are, what we think will be the best solutions, then when the policy comes out or when the bill comes out, we might be very shocked, some of us, because we didn't actually articulate what our concerns are.
Even though the African immigrant community in the US is by far the most educated group, both foreign-born or otherwise, and even though it contributes significantly to the development of the country, it does not feature anywhere when immigration issues are discussed. That is why Atieno and her group, working under the African Coalition on Immigration Reforms, are frantically moving around the US, holding town hall meetings aimed at developing a common agenda.
I think we've really tried. One of the when we were trying to lobby people in Congress and the Senate, one of the problem is really turnout, and you see that even Obama supports immigration. He supports African immigrants. The same with really Democrats. They do support immigration reform strongly. But the problem that we've had is lack of turnout, and it goes back to what we're talking about. There is fear within the community. So. And in policy making, you realize that nothing happens organically. It has to be forced. People, when they're trying to come up with policy, they have to know what your problems are. So you have to articulate this. If you don't, then they cannot assume your problem, and so your needs won't be reflected in the immigration bill. But knowing, when you look at also the debate on immigration, you mostly hear about it's undocumented. But when you look at a lot of Africans, they are actually documented immigrants, you know. So we've been trying to relay this to people in Congress, people in senators, and some other African groups are working on this, and together, so here in Delaware, we're able to actually mobilize Kenyans. We're like, hey, if you guys don't rise up and say what your issues are, then guess what? When this bill comes out, you are going to be so very disappointed, you know, because we've been really trying hard to reflect some of these issues, but it's so hard when you're not being seen there, when they don't see the people coming out. So that has been really the challenge. But in Delaware, we're really able to have a successful town hall meeting, and I think everybody who participated in it felt empowered, and they know how serious this is, because immigration reform doesn't happen every day. The last one was in 1986, in part because it's a very emotional topic, and you know, it actually polarizes the nation in so many ways. But this is the time when you have the momentum for it. The Republican Party is open to it. It's open to a very workable immigration policy or immigration reform. The same thing with the Democratic side. So we've been able to communicate this to the people, and also in a manner that they understand. For example, one of the things that I've spoken passionately about is to do with the diversity lotto. As you know, that most of Africans benefit from the green card lotto.
What is the green card? What will be the implications in terms of African immigration to the US, giving us the background to the lotto?
I think if we lose, if it will be really terrible, but I won't be surprised if we did lose the green card. But if we lost it, they would probably have the STEM visas instead of the green card. This would mean with STEM that you actually have to get your master's and undergrad here in America. So you have to think about how many Kenyans can really afford to have, you know, to come in the US and fund their master's degree. Not just master's, but also you fund your postgraduate education. And also with STEM, the first priority is going to be given with those who have PhDs from American universities. So you definitely lose out of it. So I think if they really scrap it off, we won't see a lot of immigration from the African continent, and that will be really sad. That will be really shameful, and that's why particularly people who are watching this, particularly Kenyans who are here, we really need to stand strong and ensure that the diversity remains intact. We have very strong support, by the way. The Congressional Black Caucus has a task force on immigration, and they're really championing for a workable immigration bill or solution that actually reflects also the needs of the African community. So they've been really strong that the diversity has to be there, because they know if it's off the table, then we won't see a lot of immigration from the African community.
I cannot say that it will or it will not, but if we keep quiet, it might be. Because the bill that passed through the House Basically, from the political side of view, it was a jerk reaction from the Republicans to reacting to the shallocking that they had got at the election. They had seen that the Democrats had beaten them because of the Latinos, and since the Africans had not been seen, they thought that they would take one thing, they would take the visas from the Africans and give them to the Latinos, and basically be seen to be doing something when they were not doing anything. So basically what I understood that bill to be was that they were withdrawing visas from Africans and giving them to South Americans.
The purpose of these town hall meetings is so that the Kenyan community in the US can build a shared understanding of the current state of American immigration reform system.
Healthcare. There's a lot of kids, and this touches a lot of us parents who are here without papers, and therefore we can't get any insurance for our kids, and you end up taking your kid to for those of us who know Westside Health, yes. And you can't even get specialty help for your kid because you can't pay for it. Scholarships and grants, again, goes back to immigration. Because you don't have papers, your kids will not go to college because of lack of scholarships and grants. And again, fear. Yeah. We are too afraid to ask. Yeah. If it affects your life in America, if a doctor tells you today, you're going to die, you're going to get a second opinion, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why are you afraid to go ask for a second opinion when it comes to papers? That's right. So we have to shed the fear.
About you, and you don't feel comfortable talking about your status. So as a result of that, we end up missing a lot of opportunities because somebody doesn't feel comfortable talking about their status. The other one, the last part was inequality due to legal status, and that's the glass ceiling whereby you're qualified, and issues like you're qualified, but because you don't have your status, you go to a job and just promotions pass you by, because if you go and apply for that promotion, they're going to start asking you for papers, and as a result of that, you don't want to do it. So you just stay sub where you are. If you are down here, you just stay down here, even if you have an opportunity of going above. Issues that most need to be addressed by these things.
Just like everybody else has said, you come here, you have an education, you have a degree, and it's not recognized. There needs to be a system to do that. The example I gave, when I got my green card through my nursing license, I had to do the same exams that Africans do or other people from other countries do when they are first coming to the United States, the CGFNS and the TOEFL. Although I went to school in the United States, they made me behave like an African who had just showed up off the boat or off the plane, and made me do TOEFL, and made me do all those little hoops. And I think it was a money incentive for them, because I didn't have to do that. I went to school here, I got my education here. All I had to do was do the Board of Nursing for Delaware, but they still forced me to do the CGFNS, which is a test that they make you do for people who are certificate for foreign graduates of nursing school. Okay. Discrimination, accent, cultural, we all know about that. Access to healthcare, like Marsha said, for our kids. We don't know where to take them. Your child has a condition, they need something, special treatment, you can't take them, you suffer at home because you don't have access to healthcare because you're not documented. The other thing we talked about was the issue that needs to be addressed, and why equal treatment for immigrants. And we came up with education. Thank God for the DREAM Act that Obama came up with and was approved. But we as immigrants pay 3 times.
Gone to so many high school graduations, and most of the honor students are Kenyans. They're all our kids. Can we document that so that they know we are really doing something? You know, the website. If your kid is an honor student, take pictures. The website, like Marsha said.
We came here this morning not knowing what to expect from this town hall meeting. We came anticipating that we were going to start at 10:30 and finish by noon. It is going to 3 p.m. We are still here. What does that say about this session? It is interesting, it's important, and it's needed. Yeah. Why? Because people have persevered through the time, through lunch. Sorry, we did not provide the bank, even water to drink. Because for the longest, this is an issue that we have taken for granted. And we've taken it for granted because, like many of the speakers have said, we live in fear. Whenever the word immigration comes up or immigrant comes up, we are afraid. We are afraid even for those who are legal, whether you're a permanent resident or you're a citizen. Whenever this call comes up, we become afraid. But my philosophy is, whether you're legal or not, this is an issue that affects all of us. I know in the last several years, I've been invited to fundraisers for Kenyans who've been arrested by immigration or who are facing deportation. In some cases, we raised thousands of dollars for the lawyers. And when you think about, I don't know, other fundraisers that you as individuals have gone to, amounts of money you raise to get that person out of the immigration system, it goes to show you that it's an issue that we can no longer be afraid about, but an issue that we have to tackle because it has come of age. And we as immigrants here, Kenyan immigrants here, our history goes way back to the 60s when the first Kenyans started coming to the US. Almost 50 years later, even as Kenya celebrates 50 years of independence this year, that is a long time for us to continue being afraid of an issue which does not hurt, but instead empowers us.
The major challenge when it comes to mobilizing African community, of course, is the strong sense of apathy in participation of policy-making processes. That is why the turn-up is so poor in these town hall meetings. And it's why anybody willing to talk about the challenges that they face can only agree to do so with their faces concealed. As part of the continuing story on immigration, we speak to a Kenyan who is here in the state of Delaware, who has been here for quite some time. She's raised her family here. The kids, this is the only home that they know. But because of the issues of the status, she's encountering so many problems. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Let's start from the beginning. Please tell us again, when did you come to the US and what were the reasons that made you come to America?
I came to the US in 2006, June. The main reason why I came here is to look for greener pastures and also to be able to provide for my family, my 2 children by then. And I also wanted to continue with master's degree in the US. But unfortunately that was not, it did not happen because I had to struggle and feed myself, feed my family, and try to face other challenges.
Did you come here with your family? That's your husband and your kids, or how did that happen?
Husband and my kids behind, because we thought it was not possible for us to settle as a family, you know, without a job, without transportation, without anything. So we decided that I come and try to settle, and then the rest of them will follow.
As we speak right now, the U.S. government is in the process of dealing with the issues of immigration. In your view, what are the challenges that you faced as a Kenyan who is here, but who ran out of status?
As a Kenyan who is here and ran out of status, I faced a couple challenges. Some of those, I have a bachelor's in computer science and another bachelor's in business administration, but I've not been able to work under those fields because I didn't have the right status to get the job. And the other things, being from Africa, there is discrimination that goes on from the moment you speak and you have the accent and you're black, then you are almost disqualified. So I faced that. Therefore, I had to go and look for jobs that are underpaying for me to support myself and my family.
Some of your kids were born here. Those are actually American citizens. In terms of healthcare, are they treated the same like any other children?
I can say they are, when you're out there in the hospital, they are treated the same. But the challenge comes in when you're trying to apply for help, like Medicaid or assistance. Then therefore at that time they need you to provide them with your citizenship or birth certificate or a valid visa, of which I didn't have any of those. And I was forced to pay out of pocket which is like $600 every month. That's for the American citizens. Now, the Kenyan citizens, they don't have insurance. If they fall sick, God forbid, I have to pay out of pocket.
And it's very expensive.
And it's very expensive to maintain that. It's very important that the Kenyans who live here and don't have the right status are legalized so that they can be able to go to for more school, they can be able to do the right jobs, they can also be able to travel, because most cases a lot of Africans or Kenyan people are very educated, but they end up in jobs that are not supplying enough income for them to bring up their family or even to do anything extra that they may need. So I think if we get the papers, we will be able to take care of our families well. We are going to be able to even go to more school, advance in education, and also we can as well travel and have access to other things that we are not able to access.
This is a Kenyan TV, and many people, of course, we blocked your image so that they're not going to know who you are. But in terms of, there are those ones who are wondering right now, why do these people, Kenyans, go to America? They don't have papers, and they stay there, they don't want to come home. In your honest opinion, why is it so hard for you to pack up today and go back home?
Honestly, it's not easy to just pack up and go home. If you don't have the right papers, you can't travel. And also, there is that fear of where am I going to start from? We need a stepping stone. We just need that first step to start our life. So we are not certain that once I go to Kenya, I'm going to be able to support myself and my family. I need that first stepping stone. So I decided to choose to stay here because at least I can be able to earn a living.
Your participation on the show is very welcome. Drop us an email at diasporavoice@standardmedia.co.ke and at Diaspora Voice on Twitter, that's our handle. Also on Facebook at KTN Kenya is our profile. Now get in touch with us and we will get back to you. Another edition comes your way next week. Be sure to get all the updates on yet another informative show. On behalf of the entire team, thank you for watching. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. God bless.